Hello and welcome back to another history video. Now, this is a picture from Call of Duty Mobile, apparently, which I didn't even know that was a thing, which shows a silenced MG42, which seems quite ridiculous. Now, in Call of Duty and similar mainstream games, just being able to silence every weapon you want is kind of standard, as far as I know. Maybe it changed, but when I still followed these games to a degree, usually you ran around with a silence gun in order to not show up on the minimap or something. Now, what about reality? Surely they would never try to silence an MG42. Well, apparently they did. These are some documents that were recently dug up by radiosmersh, our researcher, and there's some interesting stuff in there. Let's start. So, first of all, this document here is about a demonstration of various types of silencers, and apparently the Führer ordered the fast production of 3,000 examples. So first of all, we have the L61 here. This was not produced. The L62, which was produced and tested, we will look at that later, and the L64. You can see here the weight, which already shows you MG42 silencer, 3.7 kilograms. It was 35 centimeters long, and it made the weapon 250 millimeters, so 25 centimeter longer. This weapon, okay, I should already tell you, I don't have any pictures of this. If somebody has a picture or drawing or whatever of what this looked like, I would be really interested in that. We were not able to find one yet. But apparently it was affixed to the gun in place of the muzzle brake. And this is the diameter. And same thing here. So this is the heaviest one, 3.7 kilograms, almost 4 kilograms. Now, they tried those out, prototypes, and so apparently the L61 did not really work. It says the actual bang was only slightly muffled. And for the 62 and 64 models by the Schätzle company, it says that at a distance of about 300 meters in front of the firing position, no muzzle bang could be heard. So, and this was shot from a Lafette. So yeah, that's interesting. Seems to have worked quite well. And they want to try it out at the front. So how do they do that? Let's carry on here. And this is the order for a test by Frontline troops. And at this point, this was the 2nd September 1944, they had apparently produced 200 of them from the 2000s that were initially ordered by Hitler. So they had produced 200, and these are the units that were supposed to do the test. Some Festungs MG battalions and some Festungs infantry battalions, which are basically, Festung means fortress. These are basically static units that were used to, for example, man the Westwall or any other fortress type installations, right? So these are different battalions with the numbers, and here it says how many they were supposed to receive. So these here were supposed to receive 12. These here 16, and each of these 3, per unit, per battalion. Now what's interesting here is these were supposed to be sent into combat on the Western Front, which is already kind of a giveaway. This is at the beginning of September, so this is after the collapse in Normandy, so this was probably at the Siegfried Line, Hürtgen Forest area, maybe in Holland to a degree against the British, but most likely against the Americans. And the troops were to receive, so these units were to receive questionnaires that they had to answer about how useful these were. And so the questionnaires we have as well. 1 second. Here we go. So this is the questionnaire that went out to each of these units. First of all, what is the purpose of the silencer? It's a surprising destruction of bigger targets at medium to long range without giving the enemy the possibility to reconnoiter the MG position. Here's some special orders here. They were supposed to be cleaned as well as assembled by the unit's weaponsmith. They were only to be used at those or with those MG42s that had the later strengthened mantle at the front. Otherwise, it wouldn't work or would be dangerous, apparently. After 250 rounds in quick succession, don't keep shooting and wait for it to, deheat, to cool down. And you can use water, but only in very urgent cases. The MG has to be cleaned more than usual, and it has to be used on one MG. They should pay special attention to damages to the silencer, as well as the MG, of course. And these are the questions that they had to answer, right? So first of all, if the MG still functions with the silencer in a satisfactory way, so it doesn't like lock up or whatever, then if the ballistic properties change to a degree where you can't use the sights anymore, for example, or you have to put the sights differently. Can you still shoot a burst, aimed burst, after a longer firefight? It says here flimmern, which means flickering or shimmering, which basically means that if it heats up so much that the air starts to, that Fata Morgana kind of thing, the air starts to heat up over it and flicker, and you can't shoot anymore, or can't aim anymore, rather. Is the gunner affected by gases that get ejected from the silencer into the back of the gun? Are there damages through ricochets, and after how many shots? So if the shooting itself damages the silencer. These all, by the way, are for the L62. So, is the MG gunner less mobile due to the additional weight of the silencer? Can the heated silencer be more easily seen at night or during rain? After how many shots is the silencer unusable? And then 9 is like a general thing. Does it work as a silencer, and can it be used in the field? And then generally it says if there's any flaws or problems, that means that it can't be used anymore. Or the MG could be made unusable in the field. They have to stop the test and write a special report about that. So that's that. So that was what they had to do. Then they tried it out, and apparently they didn't really get the results quick enough. Here they complain about it. The troops had 7 weeks after the test at the front to send in an experience report about the MG silencer, but no report was sent. And so they were supposed to light a fire under their ass. And this was at the 24th of December 1944, so during the Ardennes offensive, actually. So apparently they really slacked off on that. Maybe they had better things to do, but who knows. But it shows that this was actually done. So let's look at some of the results here. This is from Festungs MG Battalion 58. And it already says here in the intro that the experience report is not positive. So apparently these work not so well. It mentions it heats up too fast, and in order to try to combat that, they untightened the silencers, and this might have been that might have resulted in damage due to ricochets from the bullets, but they're not sure about that. And the ballistic properties are changed quite a bit. It's not as accurate and doesn't work with the sight anymore. The flickering and the gases are also mentioned as affecting the usability of the silencer quite a bit. Then here that it's too heavy, which it says here the weight has to be lowered significantly in order for it to be usable. which makes sense. I mean, it's almost 4 kilos. It's kind of ridiculous. And this is another experience report, which went in on the 2nd January 1945. Um, Festungsmg Battalion 58. I wonder if that's the same one, and the other one was just a distillation of that. 1 second. Yeah. So this is the original report. Oops. This is the original report by that unit. These are the questions that are answered, and yeah, they're generally negative. It says here that the silencer is damaged after around 30 shots fired through it, which it's kind of harsh. But interestingly, at the same time, for number 8, they said that even after longer use, the silencers remained usable, which means that apparently the damage was not so bad, or maybe the silencers, I mean, that's maybe why they were so heavy. They were maybe built in such a robust manner that the damage didn't do that much. So yeah, that's interesting. But generally, it's extremely negative here. One thing they mentioned here is that if you shoot at 200 meters, they had to use the 800 meter sights. So that means the ballistic properties were very heavily affected by the silencer. Now, one other thing that is interesting here is number 9, is that they do say that it is harder for the enemy to actually see, or let's say to actually recognize the machine gun position. And it's because the distance and direction of the MG can only be ascertained quite difficult, with much difficulty. Right, and it says here that I know this is much a bit, but apparently the sound that the MG made with the silencer was similar to that of a small caliber rifle, so like a .22 training rifle or something. Which I wonder how that actually sounded. In none of these documents it mentions anything about the firing rate, which was significant for the MG42, being slower due to it, right? So it would have sounded like a really high-pitched zipper. I don't know. It would have sounded really weird. And it also says here that the MGs themselves were not damaged by using this silencer, only the silencer. Yeah. And also it says here, after the test, these silencers were, after the battles, given back to the weaponsmith. So apparently they didn't keep using them, only during the tests, probably in early autumn 1944 on the Western Front. Yeah. And that's about what we have for this MG silencer. There's only this other thing here, which is from November 1944, so just after or during the tests. And it says here, this is the Heereszeugamamt Spandau. And it says they have 1,100 pieces on hand. So they did produce quite a few of them after these initial 200 that were tested. I don't know what happened to these. Probably not used that much. Now, yeah, I thought that was interesting. Thanks to radiosmersh for digging that up. I don't think I've ever heard about that. As I said, if there's any crack out there who knows pictures of this L62 silencer with an MG42, I would be really interested in seeing that. Now, before I end the video, let's talk about some other German silencers. Now, the most used one was the L23 silencer, which was a Russian Bramit silencer. If you want to see what that looked like, you can watch the Forgotten Weapons video about the L23. Now, some interesting documents we have here. This is the first company of the Brandenburgers, which were German special forces, from the 26th of June 1944. This is a company-level document, which is somewhat unusual. And here we have very detailed weapons and equipment, including stuff like lanterns and so on. Now what we have here is soll and ist. So we have the name of the weapon here. For example, here Seitengewehr, that's the bayonet. Soll is how many should. It basically means how many they should have, 148. And then ist is, I guess, 74 is how many they had. This is smudged, obviously. K98K, they should have 132. They had 102. G41 was not in the TOE. They had 10 on hand. Sniper rifles, they had actually 3 more than they were supposed to. Then pistols 9mm, pistols 7.65mm, MP38/40, MP Erma. Now, they had, so they were supposed to have none, they had 3. One interesting thing, these might have been silenced. There was this silenced version of the Erma MP, and Brandenburgers did use these, which we know because of this document from Panzerarmee 3, from the 1st January 1944. So this is a fairly high level document that just says the overall weapons that they had, and as you can see, these are huge numbers. So they had 44,000 bayonets and stuff, and there's different captured weapons and so on, captured pistols and so on. And then if we go down to submachine guns, we have the MP38/40 is of course most, but then there's others, MP18, MP35, MP28B, which is the Belgian one, Russian machine pistols, quite a few, Austrian machine pistols, Thompson's one. And here Erma mit Schalldämpfer. So this is a silenced Erma, and they had they were supposed to have 16. They had 14 on hand in early 1944. And at this point, the 4th Panzer Army was actually engaged in operations against partisans and generally the civilian population in the area where they were on the Eastern Front. And they had a Brandenburger unit and a Jagdkommando unit attached for these anti-civilian tasks. So my guess is that probably the Brandenburger had these. So this would mean that these might well be silenced, but it's not 100% certain. So rifle grenades, this is a box for the machine pistol, that one. And here, Haube L23, so they had 6 Bramit-type silencers for the K98Ks from 104. They could silence those if they wanted to. And so yeah, Brandenburger used these silencers on the front. And yeah, some other interesting stuff, if we go down here, for flare and signal equipment, we have flare gun and equipment, and we also have swastika flags, 28. I mean, can't go without them. Otherwise, who knows who controls the control point? You know. So that's that. Okay. Other than that, we also have, and this was also found by radiosmersh, and this is a really weird document. Now, this is a Russian intelligence report that was provided to them by the British. And then it has been machine translated, so this is why there's some weird stuff in here. Availability of weapons in the 10th Parachute Rifle Regiment on the 18th of May 1944. This was part of the 4th Fallschirmjäger Division, which was in Italy at the time, and I think until the end of the war. So this is why the Brits had this information and they shared it with the Russians, and then we got it and translated it back into English. So there's some weird stuff in there, but you can see you have the regiment units, heavy companies, 1st Battalion, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Battalion total. Stickhoff means, again, bayonet, so this is obviously based on a German document. They always start in this order. You have the sniper rifles and so on, automatic rifles, carbines here means machine pistols, blah blah blah. So mostly fairly standard stuff here. We'll go to the next page, and now it gets interesting. First of all, Panzerschreck, which they still called Ofenrohr, very rare tungsten puck, 4.2 centimeter, using the Gerlich principle, but captured and non-standard weapons. Automatic sniper rifles, quite a few, could actually be FG42ZFs. Not sure though, could also be scope G41s theoretically, but at this point no G43ZFs were produced, so it's kind of hard to tell. But my point is, Schießhaube L23, so each Fallschirmjäger battalion had 10 silencers. Now, since this doesn't really apparently count as a what's it called, as a weapon, but as special equipment or non-standard stuff, it is possible that these don't show up in divisional documents. I do have a divisional document from the same division that doesn't show them, but that's from 1945, so they might have been lost or discarded. So it's hard to tell, but I think there's a non-zero chance that Fallschirmjäger divisions were generally issued with some silencers for the K98K, and it's just hard to track because we don't have a lot of these low-level documents here like this. This is, as I said, regimental level. And yeah, then there's some more captured guns that are mentioned here. Yeah, but yeah, anyway, I think the video has gone on for long. I thought it was quite interesting taking a look at silencers. So this is not entirely unrealistic. There was a silencer for the MG42. Apparently it sucked, and it almost was 4 kilograms heavy, so it probably was a lot bigger than this. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.